سلام عزیزای من، امروز دوباره با 8مین جلسه از آموزش الفبای فارسی در کنارتون هستم. My name is Leila and in this beautiful spring day, as you can see it in my symbol, we will learn an easy but a bit confusing lesson. If you remember, I have told you earlier that we have 4 different letters for the sound Z. You have already learned one of them, this Z, as the words zambur, zan, or boz. Today, we will learn 3 other letters signifying the sound Z. And I should add here that there are no rules for knowing to choose which of these Z in a word. You should learn it by heart. Give it some time and some practice, then I guarantee you will master it. Have your papers and pencil ready and let's start. The first version of Z that we're learning today is actually called Zoll in Farsi. Do you remember dal with the sound of D? Do you remember how we used to write it? We used to start from top left, going downward to the right, and then going downward to the left. It was dal with the sound of D. The difference between D and Z is that Z, or Zoll, as we call it in the Persian alphabet, has 1 dot over it. So I show you once more how we write it. We start from here, we go downward to the right, and then again downward to the left with a dot over it. So all sorts of Z, all of them have 1 dot over them. So that's a sign to recognize them. Let's get to the examples. So we have here on the right a very delicious Persian dish. Have you tried it? It's called قیمه. خورشت قیمه. What is خورشت قیمه? It's a food, right? So what is food in Farsi? It's غذا. غذا. So we start with قین that we've learned in the previous session. So that's a q, qa. Then we go with our z with a dot over it, and then our straight a. غذا. So from here to this direction, then again from here, this, and then once more downward, then downward to the left, and finally we have a. غذا. The next word is ذرت. ذرت. So we have Z in the beginning with the short vowel O. Then we have re. ذرت. And finally te. So here we also have something called tashdid. Don't worry, I will teach you this sign in the next session. ذرت. But just pay attention that we pronounce it stronger than other letters. When we see this sign over a letter, it is pronounced stronger. ذرت. So here, then O, then we have re, and finally te. ذرت. Okay, the next Z that we learned today is actually called Zod in Persian alphabet. We write Zod exactly like Sad. Do you remember Sad, like the word sabun or صبح. Let's write it together. So if you remember, we used to start from here, going to the right, making it like that, coming a little bit upward, and then going to the left. When it's in the beginning, we write it like this. The difference between Sad and Zad is, as I told you earlier, a dot over Sad. So it's Zad with the sound of Z. So the sound is exactly the same. I show you once more how to write it. So we start from here, then going here. Again, this direction, a little bit upward, then downward again, and then going to the left. When Z is not attached to any other letter, we write it like this. So exactly like the Z or Z in the beginning, but this time we go upward, and here we make half a circle. Of course, with a dot over it. So I show you once more. From here, like this, again like this, and then from here, half of a circle with our dot. With this dot, we can differentiate Sad with the sound of Se from Zad with the sound of Z. As our first example, we have someone here. Is he strong or weak? I imagine that he looks weak. Do you agree? So what's weak in Farsi? It's ضعیف. ضعیف. Yeah, it's a bit hard. Let's do that together. So we have Z in the beginning. Then like this with our dot over it. Then za. Then here we have ain that we've learned in the previous session. Do you remember how we used to write ain when it was in the middle? Yeah, when it's in the middle, we should attach it to the other letters. So that was ain, again za'i, and finally fe, za'if. Okay, za'if. The next word with the sound of Z using the letter Zad is mariz, sick, mariz. So we have me in the beginning, then the short vowel a, then we have re, the long vowel e, mari, and finally Zad at the end of our word, but connected to the previous letter. Mariz. Like that with our dot. Mariz. And our last letter for today is Za, as we call it in Persian alphabet, with the sound of Z. So it's the last version of Z in Farsi, in Persian alphabet. How we write it is exactly like ta. So another version for te. Do you remember it? Yeah, we used to start from here. Make it like that. With this aleph on it. So it was ta with the sound of t. So z, the sound of z with the writing form of za is exactly like this with a dot over it. So I show you once more. We start from here, we go upward, then once more to the left, then again with this aleph on it, and of course don't forget the dot, otherwise it would be pronounced as te. So that's za with the sound of z. And examples. So we have dishes in our first line and someone saying goodbye in our second photo. So let's start with the first one. Dishes. Dish actually is zarf, starting with the last Z that we've learned today. So we write it like this. Za, then we have re, zar, f, finally f, zarf. Zarf is singular. When we want to make it plural, then we can say zuruf or zarfha. Bye. What's bye in Farsi? I'm sure you have heard it a million times, but it's so hard to write that it's one of the last words that you learn in Persian alphabet. Finally, we want to learn how to write this hard word, Khoda Hafiz. So we start with khe, Khoda, God. So if you remember, it was like this. Khe. The short vowel O. Kho. Then we have Khoda. Khoda, which means God. Then we have He. Again, we have A. Khoda Ha. Then we have Fe. Khoda Ha Fe. The short vowel E. And finally, Z at the end. Khoda Hafiz. Khoda Hafiz. In colloquial Persian, you might have heard Khodafiz, so the short version, but the long version is Khoda Hafiz. Now it's the time for playing some games. Look at this crossword. This is a sort of crossword. What do you see in this table is the name of 8 different fruits in Farsi. Try to connect them in every direction you can. And before proceeding to see the answer, pause the video and leave me in the comments how many of the fruits you could grasp. The first fruit that I have found in this puzzle is portakal. I draw it with orange because it's an orange. Portakal. And that's its painting. The next word is kiwi. Kiwi is from left to the right. Kiwi. As its English word, kiwi. And that's the photo. The next word is holu. Holu. And that's here. Holu. The delicious holu. And our next fruit is the juicy summer fruit gilas. گیلاس. And here comes our gilas. The next fruit is from downward to the upward. موز. موز. And here comes the mouse. Now it's the time for گلابی. گلابی. From right to the left here. And gulabi is here. The delicious sweet sour aloo is waiting for us. Where is it? It's on the top of our table here. Aloo. And its photo is here. The last but not least in taste is angur. Angur. It's here from left to the right. Angur. And the sweet angur is here. Okay guys, it was the 8th lesson of learning Persian alphabets with me, Layla. If you enjoyed watching this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and if you like it, share it with your friends. از طرف من و سنبل بهاری خونم خدا نگهدار.